So right before the last slideshow shut off, we were starting to talk about relative and absolute poverty as two of the key concepts that we talk about when we are studying the issue of stratification. Another one, which I'm sure you are somewhat familiar with, or at least have heard of before, is the poverty line. So before we say much more about the poverty line, just recognize that the figure itself is adjusted for family size. All right, so if there's a family of 2, that figure is going to be different than a family of 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. But what we see is that families on average, and this is on average, tend to use about a third of their income on food. So that's why we say the figure is 3 times what a government estimates a family will spend for food. Because obviously, if you're spending a full third of your income on food, there's many other necessities there that have to be provided for as well. So we'll come back to that here in some subsequent sections, but with that said, what I want to do here is just provide you with a quick profile of poverty in the United States. All right, so what we're doing here is kind of responding to the question, who are the poor in the United States? So when you look at your guide sheet, you're going to notice that I have listed a number of categories that I want you to describe to me real quickly, which I'm going to talk you through here on the slides. And the reason for that is there's not a single profile of poor people or poor person. All right. Rather, what we tend to see is that it's pronounced among certain categories of people. All right, so let's start with age. So up until recent times, those that were most likely to be in poverty were the elderly. However, in recent times, there have been a number of programs implemented to provide assistance, and nowadays that has kind of turned things around, and now we see children under the age of 18 being those be most likely living in poverty. As far as race and ethnicity is concerned, 2/3 of those living in poverty are white. However, as we've seen in some other situations here, when we start to parse out subgroups, African Americans are disproportionately poor in as much as they're about 3 times more likely to be poor than other populations in the United States. Right. So gender is the next category I have up here, and we can see that 60% of those living in poverty are female, whereas about 40% are male. We talk about family patterns. We see that female-headed families tend to be more likely to live in poverty. I'll also note there that over 50% of these are headed by women with no husbands as well. Okay, so there are single female-headed families in many cases, but not in all cases. Male-headed families, on the other hand, when you look at them, only, about 10% of those are headed by a single male. All right, so that's another factor we're going to have to consider as we move forward here and how that plays into this whole discussion of stratification. What I will tell you for the time being here is, as a result of the family patterns there, where we saw over 50% being headed by a single female, we refer to this trend as the feminization of poverty, whereby women tend to be increasingly representing a larger and larger percentage of those in poverty. So we have some data on this from 1960 to 2000, for example, for households headed by a single female woman, more than doubled. All right, it went from about 25% to about 50% in that 40-year span. So one of the sociological questions to consider here is, why is that? Why the increase in, single female-headed families? All right, so kind of ponder that here as we move forward. We'll also circle back around that at a later point in time. Finally, though, when we look at urban versus rural localities, we do see the greatest concentration of poverty in cities, right? Probably because it's more apparent. However, as a whole, urban areas actually have somewhat less poverty than do rural areas. So in other words, there are more poor people living in rural areas than there are in cities. So again, right now I just want to focus on the United States to provide a snapshot of what poverty looks like. But suffice to say that poverty in the United States doesn't look anything like it does in other countries. So for example, in the US, 40% of those that we say are living in poverty actually own their own home. Moreover, 70% of those that live in poverty own a car. And fortunately, there's only a very small percentage of people that actually report going without food. Now, that's not to say that it's not an issue. I mean, obviously, anybody going without food is an issue, but comparatively, in the United States, it is a very small percentage that certainly has fluctuated a little bit, especially in recent times here with the pandemic as well. But we'll have to see trend-wise how that all plays out when this is all said and done. So, why is there poverty? All right, well, we'll look at theories in the next section, but let me at least provide you with two overarching explanations of poverty, if you will. So the first is that the poor themselves are primarily responsible for their own poverty. And they would say, those that hold to this explanation is that you have those who either cannot or will not work because they're either not motivated or they simply lack the skills, the schooling to actually get out there and earn a living wage. As such, there's been people such as Oscar Lewis, who back in the 60s shared with us this term, culture of poverty. Says that you have a number of people living in poverty that become trapped in this cycle, if you will. And he says that in this cycle or this culture of poverty, you have a series of norms that basically destroy people's ambition to even want to try to improve their lot in society. And as such, he would say that, basically you have people that are socialized into poor families, children as such become resigned to their plight. They don't really know or recognize they're poor. For them, that's normal. And essentially it perpetuates itself, the cycle of poverty. The basic explanation of poverty then is the society is primarily responsible for the poverty of others. This was something that was primarily argued by William Julius Wilson, a social thinker who died a little while ago, but certainly his idea has been upheld by many sociologists. And one of the things he initially pointed to was the lack of jobs in the inner cities, and he said that this is a primary cause of poverty. So that discussion actually gets into some subsequent units we're going to take a look at. So again, I'd say hold on to that point here. The more relevant explanation of poverty for our examination of stratification comes back to the second point here, and that is folks that follow Wilson's lead don't see any lack of trying on the part of the poor as the primary explanation of poverty, but rather it's the result of a lack of opportunity that leads to poverty. So in other words, the explanation here comes down to an issue of structural elements in society and whether or not the way society functions and operates provides those opportunities for all classes. And you may recall this sounds somewhat familiar to the explanation that was given for structural strain theory when we were looking at crime 2 units ago, and in fact it is. So again, we'll come back and we'll look at some of those structural elements here as an explanation in the next section we take a look at here in this unit. For now, we just real quickly ran through what some of the principles of stratification are. We looked at some of the overarching explanations of poverty. We've looked at a basic profile of, the categories of people in society where we see pronounced levels of poverty. And then we also had begun with a brief examination of why some people believe that stratification is a positive facet of society, and while others believe that, perhaps it's not that great an element of society. In any event, this overview will get us started. We're going to follow this up with some further explanation on each of these items. As I said, some of this will come this week and some of it will come next week. So at this point, make sure your questions are finished up for this assignment, and you can go ahead and move on to the next video club.